We are Cory and Wallace, an early retired couple on a full-time journey around the world. With a passion for exploring new cultures, discovering hidden gems, and enjoying delicious local food, we are on a mission to experience as much of the world as we can.
Welcome back. We are currently in Phnom Penh, Cambodia.
And no trip to Cambodia is really complete unless you learn a little bit more about the history of the country. Unfortunately, that includes some of the atrocities committed by the Khmer Rouge party between 1975 and 1979, when they effectively committed a genocide and murdered somewhere between 1.7 and 2.2 million Cambodian people. It's not a bit of history that's very commonly taught to us in Canada. I admit I only know a very little bit about it, and that's why we feel it's important to learn a little bit more. So today we are taking a guided tour, and we're going to be touring two different sites. The Tuol Sleng Genocide Museum, I hope I pronounced that right, and also the Killing Fields. Tuol Sleng Security Prison, or S21 as it was more commonly known, was a former schoolhouse that was converted to a prison where people were imprisoned and tortured. And the Killing Fields were a former apple orchard where those people were then sent to be executed and murdered and buried in mass graves. So today is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a very heavy day. There's going to be a lot of history we're going to learn. It's going to be very difficult. And I don't expect we're going to film or take photos of hardly any of it. So we'll do what we can, and then we'll come back with our closing thoughts at the end of the day.
I don't anticipate today to be easy, I guess. We have a few things that we're doing just to make sure that we're kind of taking care of ourselves after. We're going to work out really hard when we get back. And also tomorrow will actually be a really fun day. We were advised to make sure that we had something to look forward to the day after because it is so heavy. So we did that. So tomorrow we're actually going to an animal sanctuary, and so that should at least help get our mental state back.
Yeah.
But I don't remember learning anything about this. Definitely. The only thing I know about it is what I've learned in the last couple days just by reading up on it. So, yeah. I don't know what else to say. Like he said, I don't believe we're allowed to take photos and stuff, and that is completely understandable, and we'll respect any request to not film. So we don't anticipate to walk away with a full video on this at all.
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it for now. We're on our way to meet up with our tour group, and we'll pick it up there.
This is the best tuk that we've been in so far. It's so decked out.
We've just joined up with our tour group and been picked up on a bus, and I guess we've got more people to pick up along the way, and we'll be getting going.
After the tour, we decided to get some lunch, and we're here at Wild. We came yesterday. It was absolutely gorgeous, delicious, and they specialize in spring rolls, and they do the wraps, like the deep fried wraps with cassava flour. And the owner is also wheat sensitive, so I can eat quite happily. And also they have a very, very extensive allergen part to the menu. So it's all clearly laid out and everything, and there's a lot of variety. So this place was a pretty big win. The other place that we've been eating is just Indian food. Between the two places, that's pretty much where we've been eating the whole time. But I'll show you some of the stuff that they have.
It is now
early afternoon. We've finished with our tour of the Killing Fields and S21. We're gonna do our thoughts on that in a little while once we get back to the Airbnb. In the meantime, we've come to a little restaurant that we found for lunch. It's called Wild, and it's a cocktail and spring roll bar. So they do cocktails and they do spring rolls is their specialty. They have other food besides spring rolls, but that is the focus of what they do. And this place is awesome. We've got a really cool drink here, which is elderflower syrup, watermelon, kaffir lime leaves, and soda water, and it is delicious. That's refreshing after the heat of the day.
This place has a really cool hangout vibe. Like, you could come here and have like 4 or 5 drinks for the whole afternoon and just have a really slow afternoon and feel like it was worth it. It's just such a cool vibe.
Our food has arrived. I've gone with a couple things, some popcorn chicken with a balsamic honey mayonnaise dip, which is not gluten-free. And then this one is spring rolls, and these are a traditional duck and vegetable Cambodian style spring roll, which comes with a chili sauce and a plum sauce for dipping. And the fun thing with all the spring rolls here is they are all gluten-free, except I think for a couple of the flavors that have soy sauce inside of them, because the wrappers are cassava. And so those are actually gluten-free, and Cory's able to have some of the spring rolls here. So let's dig into that. That's crispy, delicious, and savory. That's really good. And let's try the popcorn chicken. Good, but not great. I don't love the dip. I might end up dipping in my chili sauce instead.
I went with the Monsoon Rainbow, which is basically just like a salad roll. It's vegetarian. And it has a mango dipping sauce, mango salad dipping sauce with crushed peanuts. That's like a salad in a wrap. It's really good. The salad roll wasn't quite enough, so I went with more Mexican. So this is a Mexican spring roll. Hot, cool. Besides burning my mouth, it's delicious. It tastes like Mexican pizza, basically. It's like the best way I can put it.
I'm gonna steal a bite of Cory's Taco Loco. So as far as I know, it's basically a chicken taco, but rolled up in a spring roll with some sort of chipotle mayo kind of dip. Oh, that's hot. Oh, that's good. It tastes kind of like, you know, those little deep fried like chimichanga rolls or, you know, whatever you get in the frozen section of the grocery store, but way better, way more fresh and delicious. We ordered dessert as well today. We don't usually, but we felt like it today. So this place does dessert spring rolls. I've gone with the, what is this? This is banana, and Cory's gone with pineapple. And so it's banana and caramelized banana and chocolate inside of mine. Cory's is caramelized pineapple and cinnamon, and comes with a cinnamon infused caramel dipping sauce, and Cory's also had a mango coulis, which we didn't like as much, so but anyways, let's find out how this is. So that confused look on my face right now is because the server mixed up our plates and I was expecting a mouthful of banana and chocolate and I wasn't. This is the pineapple and cinnamon, which also is good, just my brain didn't quite process what that was supposed to be. This one is the banana and chocolate. So good. Just creamy, smooth banana, caramelized banana and chocolate, and then that cinnamon infused caramel, and it's crunchy. Oh, that's really tasty.
We did have these yesterday, but that's the pineapple. Honestly, it tastes like apple pie. It doesn't even taste like pineapple. It reminds me of apple pie. So good. Wallace said it tasted like the McDonald's apple pie. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, the deep fried outer crust, the cinnamon, and then the pineapple, which, the sweet fruitiness, it reminds me of the old style deep fried McDonald's apple pies. Just kind of has that aroma. Obviously, it's not, it's way better, but that's basically what I meant.
And this is the chocolate banana, which is also delicious. You can't go wrong.
We are back in our Airbnb after lunch, which gave us a little bit of time to process what we saw. What do you think, Cor?
I mean, it was hard. There's no question about that. I think for me, the torture of the inmate, or not even the mate,
Prisoners.
the prisoners, for lack of a better word, because they were not even really prisoners. The torture was definitely the hardest part. Like, some of the stories was insane. I can't even process it really for some of the stories that we heard. And they did have, how many survivors? 2?
We saw 3 survivors today.
And the hardest part, honestly, is they were selling books, I assume, to try to make a living. But we just can't pack around books. And I felt awful handing it back to them, saying, no, I don't want this. Yeah. So
what Corey's referring to is at both of the sites we went to today, we saw a total of 3 survivors of the Cambodian genocide. These are men who are now in their, mid-70s or older. And after the events of what happened in, between 1975 and 1979, these men weren't given any sort of, compensation for the crimes that were committed against them. So all that they're allowed to do is the Cambodian government allows them to set up booths at these 2 sites at both Choeung Ek Genocide Center and the Tuol Sleng Genocide Museum, and they set up booths there and they sell books that they've written about their stories to basically make money for a living. That's basically the extent of the support that the government provided to them. And yeah, that was hard. Your tour group brings you there and shows you these books. You can see these gentlemen that were survivors of this horrible, horrible tragedy. And 10 USD isn't a lot of money, but we just work traveling with just carry-on only, and we can't pack around, a bunch of books with us. So I did feel bad too. I know what you mean. That was tough. Overall, that was hard. Seeing firsthand accounts, written accounts, pictures of, the aftermath, the killing fields itself, it's, it was a grave site for up upwards of 25,000 people were killed at that site. There's a stupa, like monument in the middle that the Buddhist monks built that houses, I think, over 9,000 human skulls that were recovered from the site. So it's just lots of stuff like that today. Very heavy, not a lot of fun, and of course, as expected, we did not film anything at these sites. It did not feel appropriate, and so that's just something that I think if you want to learn more about, I would suggest, just even Googling.
There's a movie.
There's a bunch of books and movies
Yeah,
that have been made, and books that have been written. I don't know all the titles of those, but do your research. And if you come to Cambodia, I would say all the reviews I read were right. I don't think you can truly understand Cambodian culture without having done these two destinations to learn more about what happened.
Yeah. I think I'm just overall disappointed with humans in general, that we can turn a blind eye to that crap, because we turn a blind eye to many atrocities throughout the world, and I'm not going to get into it because it's just not worth it, but our ability to disengage and pretend that it doesn't exist, or to be like, oh, it wasn't me, is sad.
Agreed, which is why personally I think it's important to learn about these kind of things and understand, the history behind them. And it saddens me even more to see a lot of parallels in what's happening in the world today. But again, that's just one of those things, if we don't learn from our history, we're doomed to repeat it. So
this section of the video was really sad and maybe even hard to watch. So we're gonna try to end this video on a better note. So tomorrow we're gonna go to an animal sanctuary and give you lots of animal pictures.
Yeah.
So that should at least brighten the mood of this video.
Yeah. Tomorrow's going to be a much better day. But for now, I think we're going to end it here, and we'll pick you guys up tomorrow.
Hello, welcome back. It's the next day, and as promised, we're going to end this video in a more positive way.
Today, we are doing a behind-the-scenes tour with Phnom Tamao Wildlife Rescue Center. And this is a rescue society that rescues animals from the illegal wildlife trade. And they have a center here about 30 kilometers outside of Phnom Penh. Sorry, we're just avoiding traffic here. And we are going to be joining them for a full day tour, and we get to go behind the scenes and see how they work with some of the animals. So this should be really fun, really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it. How about you?
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of research, but as far as we know, we're picking a good sanctuary that really do care about the animals. So I hope that comes through.
Yeah, we're just on our way to meet our tour right now, and we'll catch you guys when we get there. As you can see, traffic here in Phnom Penh is pretty chaotic.
Yeah, it's really bad, actually.
It's worse than Bangkok, it's worse than Bali.
And it's not a walkable city at all.
No.
We're walking on the street, not ideal, but traffic moves around you.
Yeah, because there's a little bit of sidewalk, but then you've got cars parked on it, like we're just about to encounter here, and you're forced to walk on the street. But the motorbikes are also, and even the tuk-tuks are riding right up on the sidewalk as well in a lot of places. So yeah, we're in the street right now.
Also, another interesting note is that they drive on the same side of the street as in Canada and the US.
Yeah, so they drive on the right here, which is the first time we've encountered that in Southeast Asia, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know the history of it. I don't know why Cambodia in particular does.
Anyways, we're almost at our destination. We are on our way to the wildlife sanctuary on a shuttle bus, and we just stopped at a local market area here where we're buying produce, like treats basically, for the elephants and for the macaques. And this place is crazy.
It's really cool. Yeah, so we're gonna get treats here. We've got watermelons. The driver, Mr. Lim, is sorting out the watermelons for the elephants. We usually buy watermelon for the elephants because they really like it consistently. It's also consistently available and consistently affordable, which is something that is important when you need to buy 7 to 10 for the elephants. Yeah, everything we bring are treats. So the animals have got all their food sorted. So we try to bring something that's a bit more exciting for them, so that they get something out of it as well as you guys. The only other animal we need to buy for is the monkeys. And it looks like Brooke's buying some of the Burmese grapes here for the monkeys. Take maybe 5-10 minutes to have a look around the market and then get something. So she was telling us all the meat that you see, it's butchered in the morning, people buy it and they cook it tonight. So everything is super, super fresh. So if you're at a market, you can buy meat, and as long as you're cooking it that day, because it has no refrigeration, you're good to go.
And the fruits and vegetables, there's a ton of selection here. This market is crazy. It is very busy and there's a lot of selection here. So this market's got everything. There's clothing, souvenirs, but there's also produce, meat market, wet market, like fish market. There's live fish jumping out of bins at us, you know, literally as we're walking by. I saw like a basket of live crabs. It's so busy, so chaotic in here, but at the same time chaotic in a really, really cool way.
Phnom Tamao itself was started back in 1995 by the Cambodian government, specifically the Forestry Administration. And between 1995 and 2001, it was somewhere that people could bring animals that they bought as pets and didn't want anymore. Now I usually give the example of a sun bear. If somebody's bought a sun bear cub as a pet, they're about 800 grams when they're born, so pretty tiny, harmless, fun to play with, really cute, but within 6 to 7 months grow to be one of the most dangerous animals on land, not suitable to have in your house, around your family, around your domestic pets. And people might realise that they made a mistake, and Phnom Tamao was somewhere that they could bring those animals to be looked after here. At the time, there wasn't a law for the wildlife in the country, so it wasn't illegal for people to do so. If they, saw it on the market, they could buy it. It wasn't illegal at the time. However, between 1995 and 2001, Phnom Tamao wasn't a very nice place for the animals to be. There wasn't much knowledge on how to care for the animals, how to look after the animals. There wasn't any veterinary care available, and most of the animals were fed by people coming in the gate. So there wasn't even kind of a formalized diet for them. So Wildlife Alliance was established in 2001, which is when we started to help the government to enforce the laws for wildlife and forests in the country. So the wildlife law was established in 2002, which is when it was made illegal to buy, sell, eat or keep any native species. And that was relevant up until 2023. So we've been helping the government to enforce that law ever since 2001. And since then, as I said, we've rescued over 76,000 live animals from the illegal wildlife trade. We've managed to release 80% of those back for a second chance at life in the wild. So we have kind of two main goals. The first is never to say no to an animal in need, and the second is to give them a second chance at life in the wild if we can.
We have three main areas where we release animals. The first one is here at Phnom Tamao. So it's 2,000 hectares of forest here, and there's enclosures on about a third of that area. So the rest of it is forest, and it can be used to release animals that are suitable for living here. It is dry, deciduous forest, so it means that the leaves are lost on the trees every year and they regrow, so it's only suitable for certain species. Also, because we are open to the public, we can't release any dangerous animals here. The second main area we release is into the forest surrounding the temple complex in Siem Reap, the Angkor Wat protected forest, because it's been a UNESCO site now for almost 20 years. Actually, I think it is 20 years now. The forests are also well protected as a result, and many of the animals there have only been extinct or were locally extirpated about 50 years ago during the war. So bringing animals back that have only recently disappeared is relatively simple, as long as nothing's changed in the environment. And our flagship species there is the gibbon. We've now got 17 gibbons living in the forest there. So that's 4 pairs that we've released and 9 that have been born in the wild.
Nice.
2 of the individuals that were born last year were the first 2 in the 3rd generation. So it's an important milestone for the project last year. It's pretty cool. And the 3rd main location is the southern cardamom rainforest. So it's a large protected area in the southwest of the country. If you look at Cambodia on a satellite map, it's the big green area in the southwest, basically. And it's the largest contiguous rainforest in mainland Southeast Asia. So it's a really, really important area of habitat. And although we call it a rainforest, it is quite a varied habitat. It's got mangroves, it's got grassland, it's got dry forest as well. So most species are suitable for release there. So having the 3 different areas means that we've got 3 different habitats, 3 different levels of human activity on the sites as well. Gives us a good chance of releasing many different species into the areas. However, there are some individuals that are not suitable for release, and it's usually one or more of 3 main reasons. The first is if they have a permanent physical or mental disability. So some animals have limbs missing as a result of being poached or hunting traps, for example. Some animals have unusual behaviours that they've developed as a stress response. It's known as stereotyping, and the most familiar one that people know is pacing. But these behaviours present differently in different individuals and different species. So it's important that we recognise these behaviours, because it's often that the animal will not grow out of these behaviours, no matter how good their welfare is. The second main reason is if they're too habituated to humans. So if I go back to that sun bear example, if a sun bear has been raised by humans from a very, very young age, they don't have any fear of humans. And if you were to release it into the forest, it wouldn't be scared to go into a village to look for food, maybe even socialisation. If it's used to getting socialisation from people, it's going to be seeking that out in the wild. And it's obviously putting it in danger again, but also putting the villagers in danger as well. That would be the ultimate bad ending to a release if an animal we release kills somebody. Third main reason we can't release animals is if we don't think it's safe in the wild. Cambodia's got one of the fastest rates of deforestation in the world, 30% forest loss since 2000. So there are certain species where their habitat is disappearing too fast, so we don't think it's right to release the ones we have here back. Firstly, to increase the chances, increase the pressure on the wild ones that are living there currently, but also releasing an animal into a potentially dangerous situation as well. So throughout the day today, we're going to be mostly visiting animals that are not suitable for release, and that's why we use them as ambassadors for the tour. At the end of the day, we'll visit the nursery where there are animals that are suitable for release, but they've still got a long journey ahead of them. So our visit doesn't affect their chances.
We're here at Phnom Tamao now, and our first stop is elephants, and I think baby elephants.
Come around here, easy. And this girl named Chanam, and another girl over there, the youngest one in here, Lumpat. Lumpara, hey, Nana. She came in the farm not alone with her mom and the herd, but sadly that the dog chased her and the herd, and they start to run off from that farm and went into the forest and left her alone in other farm. And the dog still keep going chasing her to another place. And after that, the farmer contact to the environmental officer, like this one, they call ranger, and WCF and WWF. The loop of wire. This one we call non-selecting snare that can catch most wildlife species from the forest. And then most of them, they die to the snare inside, or they die after they free from a snare, but they die to infection. Like the same to Lumpat wound, you can see very sensitive or infected. Without us, exactly Lumpat died to infection.
You can still see.
Yeah, you see that on the front right leg. So again, I just repeat, since he arrived in December until now, so we spent 6 months already with her, and we use the laser machine, like a mobile laser, and this one is used for healing skin, especially for cosmetic, like for the acne or something like that. But luckily that we have some money from you guys and money from fundraiser, and we bought it and we use that one for healing the wound. And this one is much more better, because you will meet one elephant, his name Chuk, that he trapped in a snare as well, but they cut the bottom off. Yeah, that is the prosthetic leg. And for one elephant that in Cambodia that lose the leg to a hunting snare. We don't want to see this girl lost the part like this, because it's not easy life. So luckily that the wound completely healed, and right now we won't use that for her. So for one bottle is 150 in 1.5 liter, so 3 liters for one time, and you can calculate every 2 hours, so 12 times. Ui da. Biết bay cái đầu đó là thì swing her leg. Oh, so cute.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yes, you mean 800 grams. Yes, the same. But just only different. You happy? Or not enough? I need more. But again, every 2 hours, and 5 of this a day.
Yeah, so this is Jamran. She's our oldest elephant and a female. She's around 40 years old this year. So Jamran used to live in a national park called Reem, which is down on the south coast, next to Sihanoukville, which is where you guys are going to go through to get to Coorong.
You're not supposed to do that.
It
Why
says
is
I
everyone
learned.
being impatient today? Hold on. And she was foraging with her family, and unfortunately nowadays that national park doesn't really exist anymore. It's being turned into an eco resort. But yeah, 22 years ago when Jamran lived there, it had great biodiversity and its own herd of elephants. And yeah, they were foraging for food. They walked out onto a rocky outcrop in the sea, and hold on, just wait a second. Wait a second, okay? You can wait. You're not starving. You already had food. And the tide came in. It worked out that they were on an island. Now, Jamran's family managed to figure out how to get back to shore. They swam back to shore, but for whatever reason, Jamran got stuck on this island. Now, the villagers recognised this because Jamran got quite distressed, and they called us up to help her out. Now, this was us with the community rangers walking with Jamran back to shore. So we basically waited with her on the island. The tide went out, and we walked back to shore once the tide had gone out. We reunited her with her family, and then, just hold on a second, okay? Now, we reunited her with her family. That's it, right? Happily ever after. So why is she here? Actually, the villagers saw us hand feeding her, and they thought, wow, that's really, really cool. I want to try. Now you're going to hand feed her in a second, and you're going to kind of experience, it's a pretty magical feeling. Has anyone fed elephants before? It's there's no feeling like it, right? What they didn't anticipate is just how lazy and greedy Jamran is, and she decided to stick around. Her family walked off wherever they were going, and she decided to stick around with the villagers. This was all well and good until she started to help herself to their crops. Now she started to eat their crops, and these were subsistence farmers. It wasn't cash crops or anything, subsistence. So they actually realised their mistake when she was kind of helping herself to their crops.
And I mean, I'm guessing she can eat a couple 100 kilos of crops at a time?
Exactly. So they saw starvation on the horizon, basically, and they realised that they needed to do something about it. So they tried to start scaring her off, using fire, loud noises, fireworks, to scare her, basically, to make her run away. And unfortunately, it didn't work. She's just so lazy. She thought she had it sorted, and yeah, I know. And the villagers were getting quite desperate. They actually ended up putting battery acid on her head, which caused her quite bad acid burns. And it still didn't work. She just stuck around. She stuck around to eat the food. She didn't even get angry, luckily, because, you know, she could have hurt somebody. So this was when we went and picked her up. So the villagers called us and said, can you come and take this elephant away, because we're going to have to kill her if she keeps eating our food. This was the wound on top of her head from the acid. So she had to be out of the sun for a couple of months when she first arrived to make sure that was healing well. Yeah, and this is how we picked her up. She must have felt a bit like Dumbo. She did have a sedation, so she probably wasn't very stressed, but just quite a funny thing to see, an elephant being lifted by a crane. Yeah, and then she's here today. She is perfectly happy here. She doesn't have to go anywhere, and she gets all the food she wants. So you could say that she's gamed the system, really. Because, yeah, she gets everything handed to her on a plate, and she's my queen. So we're going to give her some watermelon, and I'll show you how to do it. So when you feed Jamran, just in the end of the trunk there, okay? Right in the nostrils. That's how you eat watermelon, really, right? So I'll give you a few pieces, but just feed her one by one.
One.
Yeah.
There you go.
See, she throws it in. She loves her food. Any food Chamran loves.
There you go, sweetie. You're welcome.
This boy is only elephant with a prosthetic leg in Cambodia. And a few elephants in Thailand that wear prosthetic legs as well, because they caught in a snare, and another one got lost the limb to the landmine. And Choeung right now 19 years old. When we found Choeung in the year 2007, and he was about 1 year old from Mondulkiri province. This Choeung looked like 2007. This is our ex-director, Mr. Nick Marks from England, and he went down there to rescue Choeung with the vets and our Mahout. But another organization, WWF, with the ranger or patrol team, they patrol in the forest, and they saw Choeung, a calf, roaming alone with bad injury at the bottom of his foot, and then the wound like this. So we can tell that the wound very round because to a hunting snare or the loop of wire. Again, they set up on the ground. When animals step in, they will tie animal up. When animal want to pull to free themselves, the snare become more tighter and tighter until cut circulation off and die in a snare or they die to infection after. So they spend 10 days in the forest. They just give him food and antibiotic tablet, and after 10 days they brought him in here, and a few days later they start to sedate him for a big operation, and they did the operation, and then they remove fragile skin and the toenail, this white part, and his bone as well. They lost some to a snare and amputate some more, so in general lost about 20 centimeters. Yeah, 20. You will see when we train Choeung, we will take his prosthetic leg off, and you will see the bottom part missing to a snare. He doesn't want to move more. So yeah, I think this is a good space. But maybe you stay in the sun and a little bit hot. And you can fit Lucky in 2 ways. You can fit in her mouth and in her trunk. In the trunk, it means under the trunk in the curve. Just give like this. She will get it. Huh? Why? No. What happened?
Not hungry.
What's wrong?
She doesn't want it. Try again.
No.
Huh?
What's up?
Ngầm ao là thì bằng cao là. Maybe try to feed her.
Up, Lucky. Up. Up. No. What's wrong, huh? So she has got an appetite. Just doesn't want to
At
eat.
least he eat the leaf. It's better than watermelon.
Yeah. So we'll just watch her eating that. We'll give the watermelon to someone else. Trunk up to your face.
because they smell each other's breath to say hi. So you can blow to say hi to Lucky. What's wrong today, huh? Oh, watermelon. So this is Roy. Roy is a hybridized tiger from a tiger farm, but he was owned by a Chinese man who had a restaurant in Phnom Penh. So he was kept in the restaurant as a kind of status pet or an attraction to the restaurant, especially when he was a cub. He would have been passed around from person to person, used as a photo prop, used as an attraction. People want to come and feed him illegally. Just want to clarify, illegally. So we just finished lunch and now we're going to go see some of the baby animals that have been rescued from the trade market, and we're not allowed to touch. They just came here, so they're still in isolation and everything like that.
Lunch was delicious. It was Cambodian food, very, very tasty, and just a nice, shady, relaxing spot. We've already driven by some gibbon enclosures on the way here, and now it looks like we're going to see baby gibbons, which is going to be super awesome.
Leopard cat, like the leopard, and with a cat, and it's the wild cat species in Cambodia. And so Alicia will tell the story about this baby. We'll come back.
Yeah, this leopard cat was rescued in Sihanoukville, confiscated from a wildlife seller, alongside a jackal pup, yellow-cheeked gibbon, silvered langur, and a pigtail macaque as well. So a variety of species that made it clear to our team that they were trying to sell them. Unfortunately, the jackal and the silvered langur have both passed away now. We have to be quite honest here. Many of the animals we rescue are not in a good condition when they're rescued. How are you doing? So these are smooth-coated otters. In Cambodia, we have 3 species of otter: smooth-coated, hairy-nosed, and short-clawed. So if you know what kind of physical attributes to look out for, they're quite easy to tell between. The smooth-coated is the most prevalent species in Cambodia. We have 30 on site as a result. So this is a yellow-cheeked gibbon, turning black also from being golden, but not necessarily a male. We don't know if it's male or female yet until it's going to be 4 to 5 years old. Yellow-cheeked gibbons are different in their colour changing than the pileated gibbon. Yellow cheeks will all turn black at around 2 to 3, and the females will then turn golden again. On the left hand side, that's the typical enclosure that most of the gibbons are in. So a small family group with a climbing space. On the right hand side, this is our rehabilitation group of gibbons. Grooming is a really essential part of primate life in reinforcing social bonds. And the other one is singing.
because she's a little bit old. We thinking that this girl around 30 years old. 30 years old. And she put her hands outside the enclosure. This the way that she get the food from people. So after that, I asked my ex-director to bring her in here, and the government who own this place agreed, and they start to build this enclosure and brought her in here. Yeah, she learned how to cut food or fruit. Again, remember, give us best and get upper. You can scratch and bite.
So Mum will leave them curled up in the leaves, completely camouflaged, and she will go off for the day, foraging, eating food or whatever, finding water. She'll only return to the fawn to give it milk, and then she'll leave again. So oftentimes when you've got deers living alongside humans, well-meaning humans will think that the fawn's been abandoned and will take them to rescue centres and things like that. In England at this time of year, rescue centres get inundated with fawns from this very case. And yeah, it's well-meaning people, but it can be quite frustrating for rescue centres that have limited resources.
Sorry, what was this thing called again?
Red muntjac, or barking deer.
Between trees. And then the female and the male start to collect the clay and to close that. I mean, she present herself. So the female inside with the baby, and she won't come out until the baby hatch and born, and around 3 months or 5 months. And after that, they will break a little bit, and after that, the female can get out. But until the baby can fly or stronger enough, they can break the whole thing, so they can get out.
We just helped put some Burmese grapes in these like PVC pipes that are going to get hung up, and they're used as enrichment tools for some of the macaques, basically to teach them how to problem solve and get the grapes out of the tube.
And right now they reach a good time after they stay in here 2 years, so that means like they are ready to go back into the wild. So we keep them, introduce them with another troop. And after we introduce with another troop, they need to live with the new troop, around 5 or 6 months. And after that, we will take them to another place, the protected forest, and release them back. But for releasing, so the government who owns this place, the forestry administration, will in charge of releasing. So that they will take them to the forest and release them out. So again, all of them, we don't know all the story, because some of them the government rescued, and some from us, and most of them came from pet. I mean from Asia, and they call Asiatic black bear. And you look to the fur, it should be not in Cambodia because the weather very hot. But again, mostly they came from evergreen forest. So that in Kadama mountain range, so that is the weather is more better than here. Oh, there's another bear.
This statue here is a representation of Choeung, the one that has the missing leg. It is made out of all the snares that they have, I guess, taken from the wild so far. This is probably just a very small representation of the amount of snares that they have taken away.
We are now back in Phnom Penh after our tour at Phnom Tamao Wildlife Rescue Center, and we didn't record the ride back because it was a little boring, and also we were spending most of that time just chatting with one of our guides, Alicia. Overall, what did you think of the tour?
Absolutely amazing. We've been to lots of sanctuaries and stuff. This was by far the most informative, 100% all for the animals, and just amazing. Like, they had so many resources, it was crazy. They were able to take care of more animals than any other shelter I've ever witnessed.
Yeah, this place is properly legit. It is
the most ethical animal, I guess, tourism type activity we've ever done. They 100% are in it for the animals first, and it shows. Our guides, Alicia and Voot, were both awesome, very knowledgeable, very professional, and were able to answer all of our questions and more. And yeah, we had a great time. We saw so many animals. We did the behind the scenes tour, so we got to see a lot of stuff that the general public doesn't get to see, and it was really, really awesome.
Yeah, for majority of it, it was hands off. We got to feed a couple of the elephants that are permanent there, and they were friendly enough that they allowed us to feed them. But other than that, it was 100% hands off. They had baby animals who they just brought in from the black market, basically. So they showed us those, and just working on rehabilitating them and getting them out to the wild, which is not an easy process. So I think they said on average it takes 6 months to 3 years, depending on the animal, to get them back into the wild. So it's a very expensive, long process. And if you want to donate, we'll leave the link down below.
Yeah. This was not a cheap tour. It's off-peak season, and it was 120 USD per person. During peak season, it's 150. However, totally worth the price of admission. We had a fantastic time. Lunch was included, beverages were included, transportation to and from Phnom Penh, and I would 100% recommend doing this if you are in the area. And like Cory said, we'll leave a link in the description below with the exact tour that we did.
Yeah. And if you have any allergies to food or anything like that, they've got you covered. They know what they're doing. I ate no problem.
Yeah.
A couple of the other people in the group were vegan. They accommodated them very easily. So yeah, food you got covered, and again, can't recommend enough.
Yeah. So anyways, we are now here back in Phnom Penh, and we are standing in front of Wat Phnom Temple. And the reason we come here, we got one more animal thing for tonight, and that is at the entrance to Wat Phnom. If you turn around and look directly across the street, there is a tree there with what looks to be hundreds of flying foxes.
Yeah, and we'll show you those, and hopefully we'll capture them flying off into the night.
I should also mention, if you want to check out the flying foxes for yourself, take a grab to Wat Phnom. But if you look on Google Maps, it's actually pinned. The location is Flying Fox Sanctuary Tree, so you'll see it on there as well. This is crazy. These are just like seeds off the tree, helicoptering down in the wind. Ow! And they hurt when they hit you in the face.
So these are what's falling out of the sky. They're like little helicopters. They're really cool.
It's really hard to make out right now, but there are probably hundreds of flying foxes in that tree, which, if you're not aware, flying foxes are a large bat whose head basically looks like a fox. And generally, those are fruit bats, if I'm not mistaken. Hard to make out on the video, but they're starting to wake up, and the odd one or two have been flapping around a bit.
That was really cool to see that.
Yeah, that was a lot of bats. And I looked it up. I was right. Flying foxes are fruit bats, though they eat insects too.
Yeah.
But
yeah, just seeing them wake up and like take off, it was not it didn't have like the greatest backdrop, so we didn't get a lot because it was pretty dark, but
Yeah, hopefully the camera captured that, you know, because it is getting dark now. We're just standing under a street lamp, that's why it's so light here, but the sky is really dark blue now. Still looks really cool to see them all waking up and flapping off into the skies to do their thing for the evening.
But thanks for coming along and seeing some of the highlights of Phnom Penh. We were only here for 5 days, so there's only so much we can show you, but we got the highlights and that we wanted to see.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, with the Royal Palace the other day, and then with S21 and the Killing Fields yesterday, which, you know, isn't a fun thing to do, but again, I feel like it is an important thing to learn about. And then our trip today to Phnom Tamao Wildlife Rescue Center, which was phenomenal. Thanks very much for coming with us. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up to give us a like and make sure to subscribe.
And we hope that you'll join us in other videos for more adventures. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring.
So you can get everything in this market. There's dry goods. Oh, where did that come from?
Very sorry if she does. Might just be sand. So I'll try and tell Jamran's story quite quickly because she's also going to get...
That elf sit?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. Sorry everyone. Oh, you just wait. You're going to get some. You're going to get some in a minute. She's a diva. Oh.
And that's just because she knows that's there, right?
What?